me on there, your ratings are going to drop just a little bit.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hope everybody's week was good. We got Joe Rader with us from the Black Rock Central, and he's going to show us a little bit of his layout and tell us a little bit about it. And then we'll go bug Bill about his and Dennis about his. And I finally have that picture that I was trying to find last week. I definitely have it on my desktop, so I'll be able to show you that this morning too. But anyway, Steve, you want to go through the names and find out who's here and who's not?
Oh yeah, we got a crew. We got Path Valley Railroad, and honestly, what's your first name? I just say PVR. We got Allison. Good morning. John Tanzillo. We got Roy Hardwick. Container Man. Good morning. Let's see. John Grandpa Rails. John Schuylkill River Valley. And I think that we got Bernard. And let's see. There was somebody else here. Nope, that's it. Good morning, everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry.
Did you get Rob?
I didn't see Rob.
Rob,
Morning,
yeah,
Rob.
he's here. Rob T-Man's here. John Tanzillo's here. Yeah.
Yeah, I said John.
Good to see you guys this
Al
morning.
Mar popped in. Good morning, Al.
Anyway, like I said, we've got Joe Rader on the show this morning, and we're going to try and get him to give us a peek at his railroad, and we're going to ask some questions. And I forgot to tell you this before, Joe, but if there's anything that you don't want to answer, that's just fine. Just tell us it's none of our business. But anyway, I'm going to put you on a solo layout here so we can see what you're talking about. And I'll start off with how did you get in the hobby?
My father got me into this hobby. Growing up, like I said, I was probably about 6 years old when I got my first locomotive. And Dad had a 4x4, which went to a 4x8, which then developed into a 12x16 foot folding layout. This layout folded up against the wall. We had a switch yard in the back where everything got parked, and the rest of the layout, everything was either nailed or glued down, so that at the end of a session, two of you picked the layout up and folded it up against the wall, and it folded right at the switch yard. And that way there, it was out of the way. When you wanted to do something, you brought it back down again, pulled the engines and everything out of the switch yard, and you did all your running.
Well, that sounds like a good way of doing that.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was interesting. But
see, Bill, you need to do something like that.
Yeah, maybe next time.
The only time I have not been in the hobby was while I was in the military for 4 years. Other than that, I've had some sort of a layout since 1956.
Well, I'm going to set this question up. John Tanzillo wants to know if you solved your computer problem.
Yes, I did. Heath and Rick Bailey both noticed it at the same time, something that I failed to notice. One computer was on YouTube AOL, and the other was on YouTube Google. And I never noticed the difference in the two of them. And they picked it out, and they said, you need to change this. And boom, I changed that, and all of a sudden, all my subscribers were back, all my videos were back, and very simple solution for a dumbass.
Okay, so tell us about your layout there behind you. You've it looks pretty nice to me. I like your flats on there.
Yeah,
looks good.
This is where the whole layout started. It was nothing but it's either 21 or 23 feet, I forget now, switch yard that I had in here that I just did switching operations with everything that's in the back. And eventually I said, I'm tired of just running trains back and forth. I want to see them run around in a circle. So I just started adding on to it. But if I jump up and move the camera around, I can give you a little bit of an idea as to what this thing looks like. So,
Sure.
wait a second.
Cool.
Oh, hopefully this will pan out and look halfway decent anyway, without making people too sick.
Those of us who are susceptible to that, thank you.
Oh, sorry about that. At the far end of the layout is the cement plant. Move this camera here just a little bit where we can go over here.
Hey,
So
trees.
is this a peninsula where this bridge is?
No. This is a giant L-shaped layout
Okay.
with a hole in the middle of it for me.
Now, is it a loop or point to point?
It's a loop. It's 80 feet of mainline track.
Good run.
Yeah, that's decent size for sure.
For the most part, I run at what I've commonly referred to as being jack speed. So it does take a little while for the train to get around the corners.
I love that shot there. That's a good looking scene there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's kind of this area right in here is where I do a lot of just my run bys.
Very nice. Wow.
But
Yeah, Bernard says, wow, Joe, that's quite a layout you got there.
from the bridge down to the far end is another 15 feet. And we're about 12 feet on this back wall where my refinery is.
That's nice looking.
Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah, that refinery is really nice looking.
That refinery is, I think is 2 refinery kits and a whole bunch of other ABS plastic pipe, PVC pipe. I've never seen a refinery, but I just know there's a lot of towers and a lot of pipes. So through in there, make it look good.
Yeah, that's true about the.
It's very convincing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then very small switch yard next to my engine servicing facilities.
So this part right here that you're showing us was part of the original switching layout?
No,
No, okay.
no. We got to get back around. This is another 23-foot wall.
Allie wants to know if that's if there's a prototype that you're following on your refinery.
Nope. That's what I said. I've never seen a refinery. I just saw a couple of pictures here, there, and yonder, and decided to add everything into it and try to make it look busy.
Well, I tell you, I've done my share of switching in a very large Chevron refinery, and yours looks very similar.
But now we're back to the grain elevator and the what used to be the switching layout.
Okay, so from there to the right, down to the cement plant then.
Yeah, see, that plant is all the way down the right-hand side.
That looks great, Joe. Do you like one-man operation, or do you have like a couple of folks run it?
No, the only person that lives anywhere near me, well, actually my ex-wife's husband, he has a small layout, but he doesn't come over very often. I go over to his, but we don't do much over there because he's still building onto his. And then Raybo Bell is like 15 minutes away, but we have never gotten together for anything. So mine's mainly, I'm running all myself.
What era and prototype, or do you have a prototype?
I don't really have a prototype. The era is 1975 through about 1981. My newest locomotive that I have on the layout is a GP50, which they came out in, I believe it was 1980 or 81. So that's kind of the length of my railroad. It doesn't go above that. So when I buy freight cars and everything else, I have to make sure that they fit the time period and all that kind of mess. So you won't see any graffiti. You won't see any safety stripes on the cars. And I run cars with roof walks, cars without roof walks, and still have the, some of the cars have the barcode thing that was on them that they used for a while for the car identification.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific road name on your locomotives, or is it class?
On my own locomotive, I do. It is the Black Rock Central Railroad, so some of my locomotives are labeled for that. But the CSR or the Chessie and Southern, they interchange. They'll bring cars in, drop them off at the yard. Black Rock Central sorts them all out and actually delivers them to the industries.
Is your area, the town or whatever, is there a prototype behind it, or is it all just freelance?
It's all freelance, with the exception that I did scratch build my house and put it on the layout in the town.
Cool.
There you go.
It looks like you do car card for operations.
I'm getting ready to. I've had them for a long time, but I've never really set it up, aside from screwing the boxes in there and started to write up some of the cars.
That's
Very
the
nice.
way I want to go at some point in time for my HO scale switching layout. Right now I just kind of pull what I want to move out of the old rear end and move it. But doing a card system looks like it would be fun for an operation type session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got behind the cement plant is a hidden staging area where I have 3 tracks back there with 2 Chessie locomotives set up and the Southern locomotives set up with cars already on them, so I can bring them in, do whatever drop-offs I want to do, pick up whatever cars are sitting in the yard, and then it disappears again back off the layout. And that way,
Looks like your layout would lend itself to running really nice long trains too.
yeah, as long as I run them slow. Now, I've seen some of these guys that I forget who it was the other day I was watching that had a train on there that was 50 some car. I think it was Dave Thurber from Crooked River was running a train on his layout. And if I tried to run one that long, I think it would look like I was chasing my caboose.
Yeah, I definitely can't get very long because my standard gauge, the only place I can run it constantly is on the loop-to-loop. So I've got to keep them smaller than the reversing loop.
Yeah,
I couldn't get any 15 cars either.
Like 12 to 15 cars long. That's it. I won't run anything more than 15.
Excuse me.
And that's a good
wants
train
to know
length.
if you're running NCE DCC.
Yes. Yeah. It is the NCE system. I did get a 5-amp booster for it. And got plugs here, there, and yonder all around that way that I can just move the controller to wherever I happen to be, wherever I have to be doing some switching areas. The locomotives that I built, which are mainly all of the Black Rock Central locomotives, are old Athearn Blue Box locos. I do have 1 or 2 older Atlas locomotives in there, but they all have Digitrax decoders in them. Just cheap decoders, some with sound, some without sound. But I do have a couple of Walthers locomotives. That's what the one GP9 running around here now is. I've got a GP7 that's a Walthers. And one in the back there, the black one, is a Bachmann. I do have a couple of Bachmann locos, the sound value jobs that I run once in a while. And I have an old Shade, but right now it's not running because I'm having gear trouble.
Ooh.
It's got the old plastic gears on it that as soon as I get around to making a jig up to where I can change the gears out, I do have a set of Northwest Shortline metal gears to put on there. But I need
Is it
to
an
make.
MDC?
I'm sorry?
Is it an MDC?
No, it's an old Bachman.
Bachman.
Bachman Spectrum. When they first came out, I bought it.
Hey, Joe, Daryl was asking if you could show the refinery again.
Yeah, I can swing Kevin back around. Hang tight a minute.
Yeah,
And
I'm
Bernard-
interested too. I really like that refinery.
And
Yeah.
Bernard wants to know if you have Black Rock passenger service.
My Black Rock passenger service is an RDC. Yeah, we'll see if we can't zoom in here a little bit anyway.
Hey, Bill, Roy's got a question for you.
Sure.
What's the widest width at the return loops plus scenery radius era in the HO? Longest cars you ran in HO?
That I've run an HO.
Yeah.
Well, movable layouts. What's the widest width of the return loop scenery? Oh, okay. So multiple questions. So for the movable layouts, I don't have any return loops as such. They're all loops for the N scale and O scale. So the O scale is 4.5 feet wide for the modules. The N scale is only 3 feet. And then what was that second part of it?
Radius, era, and the HO. Longest car run on the HO.
Oh, for HO, the longest car would be 50 footers. Era, like late 40s to mid 50s ish. I've got old truss bottom freight cars. I've got stuff from like the turn of the century that I'll throw on there once in a while just because it's fun. Tightest radius is the curve that goes behind the roundhouse, and that is about 18 inches, and that's just about just a quick turn. Otherwise, most of it's broad. There's hardly anything that's got curves. Probably 50 plus just in those little sweeps I've got in the rest of the switching area.
Oh, I love that refinery, Joe. That is really nice.
Yeah, that is a beautiful model.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does look nice.
That's what I say. That's a combination of two refinery kits, Walther's refinery kits, along with extra tanks that came from other kits, and anything that looked like it belonged in a refinery, I crammed it in there.
Well, we have the Sun Refinery company here in Tulsa, or at least it used to be Sun. I guess it still is, over on the west side of the river, and it looks like that pretty much. I mean, it's a lot more stuff there than what you've got on the model, but it doesn't look like that for sure.
That's a really great cracking tower.
It's hard to see, but both fracking towers do have a little blinking red light on the top of them.
Yeah.
But the only thing you're missing is the tower to burn off the waste gas.
Yeah, you need a little flameage.
Well, there's
Get that little butane flame going up there.
Yeah, there's the burner, but I don't have a light on that yet. I was hoping that I made the suggestion to Mini Prince because he came out with that burning barrel and campfires and everything else, and I said you need to come up with a flame that I can set on top of that on top of the smokestacks there.
How tall are those?
About 18 inches.
Okay. They look a lot bigger.
Yeah, they do. They look a lot taller than that.
You know what you could potentially do is like at the home centers, they've got those outside little solar powered night lights. And there's some that have like flame feature where the LEDs flicker. You
Yeah.
could probably pick one of those things up fairly cheap, $6, $7, $8, and tear it apart and get the LED out of it and make your own.
Yeah, that would work real well. But yeah, you did a nice job on that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like that. I like the loading facility too.
Yeah, now that's 4 of the loading racks put together.
That gives you some nice switching opportunity. I'm
Yeah.
all in favor of switching. That looks great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the thing that you can't get rid of is the damn poles that support the basement.
Well, paint it up like a tank.
Yeah.
Got some pipes come off of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice though if you can get the table around the pole so you're not running into the pole all the time.
Yeah.
That's a good looking scene down the street there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Hey, good morning, Brian.
Morning, Brian. Jeff, the railroad enthusiast. Good to see you. We got 25 in right now. Good crowd. Everybody wanted to see Joe this morning. So, Joe, how long did it take you to get to this point? How long have you been working on this?
I started working on this layout in, I believe, 2013 is when I started expanding the layout anyway. Prior to that, like I said, it was just nothing but the switching yard.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so since probably about 2015 is when I actually started really expanding and adding on to it to get the full loop all the way around.
Well, you make good progress. Do you work on it quite a bit every day, or?
Well, for a long time, when I first got started, I had tons of track left over from previous layouts, and it was just go ahead, get all the bench work put in, then just throw some track down. I had no track plan of any kind, and it was just, this looks good here, nail it down. Glue the cork road bed down, nail the track down, and see if it all ran right. Fix what didn't run right and just go from there. But then it's kind of slowed down now. It's mainly just a little bit of scenery work here, there, and yonder. The background that I painted on here was, at one point in time, I thought about doing the photographs like everybody else does, getting the 10-foot long rolled up seams and gluing them all on there. And I thought, by the time you work your way all the way around here, I'm looking at close to 100 feet of scenic background. And I thought, that's an awful lot of daggone money. So I just left it as blue sky painted on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then here a couple weeks ago, or a month ago, something like that, Robert from Flying Crow was showing how he did how he painted all of his on there. And I thought, that's not a bad idea. It's supposed to represent distance, so it doesn't all have to be perfectly, manicured trees and manicured lawns and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, you ought to go ahead and try that. And I guess Jason, the train freak, he sat there and he says, go on, damn it, try it. It can't work out, too bad. If you make a mistake, you just paint over it.
Yep.
So I went down to Michael's, I guess it was, picked up a couple different sponges. One is a real nice size sponge, and just put some paint on a paint tray or on a paper plate and started. And just added to it as I've gone most of the way around the layout right now, as far as where I want trees and everything else. I want to get a couple more background buildings for the industrial area just to try to fill in some of the gaps. And then I've got to do something behind the cement plant, whether I put just more trees back there or buildings or something else, but to try to bring that a little more to life.
But Bernard wants to know, did you use code 100? Or he says, or a mix of gauges. I think he means a mix of codes on the track.
No, this track is all code 100. That's what I grew up with. That's what I stayed with. All my switches are Atlas switches, the old snap switches with the motors taken off. Some of them are the custom switches that are a little bit longer, but most of that's just old Atlas switches that I had.
So is everything hand throw, or do you have any electronics?
Yeah, I use ground throws or under the table bullfrog cable actuated turnouts.
Yeah.
If it's ones that I can't reach with the ground throws, then I use the bullfrog under the table mounts.
And those work really well. I've got one of those on mine, and they do work really well.
Yep, it's a nice positive lock to it, and they don't move around on you.
There's nothing like old school model railroading, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bulletproof.
Well, it makes you feel like you're doing something other than just pushing the button.
Yeah. And I've never been much of an electronics guy anyway. I have no block system in here, no signals, no nothing else. Everybody says that with DCC, you have to drop feeders every 6 feet or 8 feet or something like that. I have 2 sets of feeders on this layout. One set of feeders runs the main line for the freight service. The other set of feeders runs the passenger service, which is a totally separate loop for the RDC.
Jeff, the railroad enthusiast, wants to know what type of voltage are you using, or is it all the same voltage?
It's all the same voltage, whatever comes out of my NCE system.
Bernard's asking if it's brass track.
No. Nickel silver.
And Brian also wants to know, he says, if I'm DC and I have a turnout I can't reach, is the bullfrog thing I need? Problem is, I'm not sure I can get underneath it either.
Yeah, bullfrog makes a nice one that's a compact one, and Blue Point also makes one that's in plastic.
Yeah, got nice ones.
They're a little bit on the larger side though, but the bullfrog is probably, I'd say, under 3 inches.
Yeah.
From top to bottom, so it does fit in a fairly tight spot.
Fast Tracks is who produces those, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes. And you gotta put them together, but they're laser cut, so they're real easy to put together.
Yeah, a little bit of wood glue and a screwdriver. That's all it takes.
Yep. And they do come with a little actuator switch that you can do your wiring for your frog on.
Yep.
Are all your frogs dead, Joe, or do you have any live frogs?
Nah, mine are all dead frogs.
Lots of questions.
I had one locomotive that I bought years ago, right after I got into DCC. The local hobby shop at the time was what's called Model Train Stuff now. And they used to have a retail store. MB Klein's was their retail store. And they had a sale on the NCE system, the starter set, and BLI at the same time. So I went up there and I bought the NCE system, got that all hooked up, and I bought a BLI MP15 AC. I sent that MP15C back 3 times to BLI because it refused to cross dead turnouts. And they kept saying there's nothing wrong with the locomotive and sent it back to me. And I finally asked them, I said, can I put a keep alive in this to get it over top of dead frogs? No. We don't recommend that at all. And I thought, okay, fine and dig. That's the only locomotive that I have ever had that refused to cross a dead frog. And I got rid of that at the first train show that I went to. And I said, never again.
Well, John Grandpa Rails wants to know, did you eat frog's legs?
I'm sorry?
Grandpa Rails, John, wants to know if you ate the frog's legs.
Yes. Frog legs are very good.
Okay.
They taste just like chicken.
And
Yeah.
Brian wanted to know if they come with the extension wire or what I need to get piano wire.
No, they make a separate kit for that you can actually pick the same thing up at any RC airplane store.
Yep.
It's one tube goes inside the other tube, but
They're called push rods.
Yeah, they do make a kit for it. You can get them in 18-inch or 36-inch lengths, and they're easy enough to cut. They come with all the handles and everything else, and everything that you need to put them together.
Yeah, yeah, those are all at Fast Tracks.
Yep.
I've got one around
probably
here
look
somewhere,
on
but
their
I don't know where I
site.
put it.
I'm sorry, Dennis, I stepped on you there.
Oh, I was gonna say I've got one around here somewhere, but I forgot where I put it. I could actually show you what it looked like, but I don't think I'd find it right now.
If you look on the Fast Track site and see what they use to use for the push pull arm, and you can probably fashion something yourself. It's not hard to do. It's a very simple mechanism. So you know, you can take a look at it depending on if you like to build your own stuff or not, or if you want to do the kit. They do have the kits, or you go to the RC store and Hobby Town, someplace like that. Any place that's got RC airplanes will have push rods, and you can buy them in a variety of different sizes.
Yeah, for a while on some of my straight throws that I had, just going from one side of the layout to the other, I used 3-foot dowel rods.
Yeah.
And just drilled and tapped a hole in one end of them so that it fit the fitting on the bullfrog. Has a nice little threaded fitting on there that goes to the actuator, and then just ran it clean out to the other side of the track, and then you just pull back and forth on the dowel rod and operated the switch that way.
Well, some of the old school RC airplane guys used to use arrow shafts.
Yeah.
For the push pulls, because they were usually fiberglass or thin aluminum.
Nice and stiff.
They're a little bit bigger round, but they do work.
Yeah. The problem I had using the dowel rods is, as long as you were on a straight shot, you were okay. But if you had to go through some of the bracing underneath the turnouts or underneath the layout, dowel rod doesn't bend very well.
Yeah.
Whereas the RC control does. You can sit there and put.
Daryl wants to know what size or number of turnout do you use?
I have no idea. Whatever happened to fit in the given area is what went in there.
Most of those Atlas snap switches were a modified number 4 or number 6.
Yeah, that's what I think most of mine are, either number 4s, number 6s. I might have a couple number 8s thrown in there, here, there, and, you know, just in scattered places. But it's whatever I pulled out of the box that happened to fit in that area, yeah, that'll work. That's why I said
I like it.
When I built this, I had no plan. I never drew anything up on a piece of paper. I just built bench work, threw 1/4-inch plywood down on top of everything, and started from there.
There you go.
You're a man after my own heart, Joe. That's exactly what I did with my HO. It's like I had the stuff, I knew what I wanted, put it down, and make it work.
Yeah.
I'd sit there and I'd put 5 or 6 feet of track together and lay it down there. Yeah, that looks good. And I'd hook alligator clips up to it. At the time, I was still DC. And I'd hook alligator clips up to the track off my DC power pack and run an engine back and forth. Yeah, that works. Throw a couple cups. Yeah, that's a good curve. That'll work. Take it back off and continue to build and test as I went.
Yeah. Okay, well, that brings me to the question of what's Bill got for us this week.
All right, mine will be kind of short.
I know you've always got something.
Oh, I've always got something. So last week after the show, I managed to do what I was talking about. I cleaned up the end scale. I had the HO cleaned up and the ON30. So I ended up having 5 trains running simultaneously last weekend for a while. So a train on the ON30, the O scale running. I had 2 trains on the N scale running, and then I was manually running the HO scale. And I got video. That's going to come out in a couple of weeks. But I was having fun with that and just playing with the, or operating the layouts last week. But what I've started to do is on the ON30, see it here. Let me take this off.
Close your
I'm
eyes.
starting to cut out where I'm going to put the bridge on the ON30. I had been thinking of doing like maybe 2, like a cutout here and a cutout here, but it just would not work with how I was envisioning scenery. So I'll just have one little built in place bridge here. I've started to stain up logs that it won't look like this. It'll be cut into 3 pieces to go through. But I'll have this as the base, and then just like 3 bents coming down right in here. Other thing that I was doing is I'm starting to build a different kind of tree. So let's see if you can see this. This is the rustic wire for the trunk, but then I'm using the florist wire to add branches into this. I'm wanting to model like southern yellow pine tree and other types of tree. And I wanted to see if my technique would work. So these are a couple of trunks that I built that are part of a video series that I'm building or putting together on just how to do these. So I'm going to be taking pieces of super tree. I've got some 1/32 and 3 1/28 heat shrink tube coming. So I'll be heat shrinking the super tree material onto these branches just to kind of build up, and then I will paint them, but then I'll apply static grass to get a pine tree out of this. And I'll
Bill, those would make really good snags just the way they are too.
Yeah, they could. Yep. I'd have to paint the ends because I got the wires left where I'll slide the heat shrink tube on. And some of them I am just leaving. I'm just leaving like those just dead branches coming off. But I'll show you my prototype. So I built one, and I did put it over on the O-scale layout for a little while. But then I got thinking I had a better place for it. So there's my prototype southern pine tree.
Oh, there you go.
So the super tree material I super glued on the wires and then used baking soda as an accelerant to get it to stick. But the super tree material has nice branches that with the static grass, you get a nice looking pine tree that comes out of it.
Tell you what, Bill, you could always go into business building trees.
Yeah.
You know what? When I retire, that might be something that I do. I take the O-scale layout to shows, and at the same time, I sell trees.
Yeah, you could make some money.
Good idea.
That's something I have never had the patience to do, is make trees. I tried it one time, and patience just was not there.
Yeah, this doesn't take long. I'm with you. I don't like to do anything that takes a long time. I like to do things kind of quick. So this, building the trunk, only takes a few minutes to get the trunk built. To do it the way that I'm going to do it is I should be able to get all of the super tree material on these with the heat shrink tube and have a tree built in less than an hour is what I'm shooting for this. And that would include, from this stage, getting the super tree material on, take it outside, give it another shot or a shot of spray paint, and then bring it back in and flock it. And I think I can do a tree in under an hour once I get to this stage. So we're going to find out. This is what I'm going to be doing this weekend, is to kind of get these 2 trees built. And like I said, it's part of a video that I'm doing on the construction of these. But I'm going to make a bunch of these that are going to go on the O-scale layout, probably in this area, once I kind of get scenery sort of built up, just to kind of show what I've got. A few transition trees here where a logging camp is going to go as well. Again, transition from those different kind of pine down into some southern pine over in this area.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing this week. More running and having fun.
Looks good, Bill, as usual.
Yep.
Well, thanks for the update.
Welcome.
That brings us to Dennis. I'm going to put Dennis on the spot now.
Okay.
And he's going to show us the stuff he hasn't glued together yet.
Okay, I'm going to try and move my my camera. Hopefully, it won't be. Let me see if I can.
I'll tell you
the
what, while you're
camera.
doing that, Dennis, I'm going to show them this picture that I was
Okay.
trying to find last week and I couldn't find, but I've got it this week. So let me get it pulled up here on my screen. There we go. Okay. Okay, now you have to excuse the bug mess on the windows. One thing we found on this trip, there was a lot of bugs out there. But the reason I saw this, and we saw about 4 or 5 miles of this ridge right here, just off the roadway. And I got to looking at the trees, and there was one that I really wanted, and I don't guess my wife got the picture. Of course, I was driving, so I couldn't make it. But they had one section where there was, on top of this ridge, there was a pine tree, and then about 100 feet another pine tree, and then about 50 feet in a pine tree. And I just started laughing because I told my wife, I said, this is what most model railroads look like right here. You know, they want a forest, but they end up with this. I know it's true for me. You know, I've started putting trees on my mountain, and I've got over 100 trees on there, and it doesn't look like there's anything on there. So it really struck me as funny when I saw that, because nature does the same thing.
It does. There's a prototype for anything somewhere in the world.
Yeah, and
Yep.
that picture was taken just north of Billings, Montana, I believe is where we were. Okay, Dennis, all yours.
All right. Well, you can see back in the corner over here, I have a test track. That's an 18-inch radius loop. I decided that a significant portion of this spline here was going to be at an 18-inch radius, and I just wanted to make dead sure that every piece of locomotive that I had would actually go through that without any problems. So I kind of set up a test track there. But I've got everything figured out in here as to what I want the track to be, and I've got this at the height that it needs to be. And I think that may have came out in the last video. I can't remember. I think I'm 2 or 3 videos ahead of where I'm at right now, or I guess behind is where I'm actually at. But here is the proposed switches. This is everything except for I think there's another 3-way and a number 8 up here in this corner that's going to complete the Y. It's kind of hard to see, but this is some turnouts here that connect this Y area here. There's a track that goes in here, but I got to figure out where to continue cutting the plywood out, because my access hatch is right in here in this area, and then I've got to figure out exactly this radius. And where I'm at right now, see if I can move this. These particular switches here, and if you've kind of followed a little bit of what I've got going on in my community tab, you'll know that these are actually HO scale standard gauge, 60-inch by 33-inch standard gauge templates. And I've got to figure out a way that I can create these in narrow gauge, because this is going to be, I think this is going to be the most complicated thing I do, because those really need to kind of be at that radius to make everything work. And I guess the next step for me is putting all of this at the height that it needs to be, and then figuring out where to go from there. So There's some complications, but I'm getting it all worked out, making good progress. I've actually got some 60-inch radius sweepsticks, but I'm going to see what I can get away with in this area. I need to cut away this area of the plywood to make this all fit, because it's not actually where it's going to be just yet.
That
So
was damn good.
that's where I'm at.
Dennis, with the building those turnouts, because I know the number 8 curved turnout for the narrow gauge is not that wide a radius.
Right, it's like a 19 inside and 24 outside, I think.
Yeah, if you made up your frog on it, you've done enough building of those turnouts. I bet you could set your radius. Make a template on your workbench that you could set up once you got your frog made, and then curve your rails accordingly and solder them in place on the PC ties to hold them.
Yeah, I've
think you
actually
could get
done that
pretty much-
already.
Yeah.
Of course, I left that switch in the pickup this morning. I've actually created one of these in HO narrow gauge. It's a little wonky. I don't know that it's going to work, but it was my first attempt.
Mm-hmm.
If it does work, I'm going to test it. I'm going to, maybe if I get around to it this weekend, I may set that back up and put my my hand laid switch here just to see if everything runs through it. And if it works, I've got one of those switches in here. I might use it for that. But I have done that. I'm confident I can do it. It's just a matter of doing it well enough that it's going to work for all of my locomotives.
Dennis, Mark Pruitt from CB&Q in Wyoming, who's actually going to be our guest next week, by the
Cool.
way, everybody. He wants to know how many hours a week do you spend on your layout construction?
Well, it varies. The way things are working with my work right now is I get 3 days off. I come in, and I don't know that I've mentioned it on the channel yet, but I'm actually living somewhere else. I had kind of an unfortunate series of events with the job, and I'm having to live and work in a remote location. And I come home Friday night, and I work usually half a day Saturday. I usually get started right after back on track, and then I'll work all day Sunday and part of the day Monday. So I'm saying maybe 16 hours on a weekend is about what I put into it when I can. That would be probably the most I actually do, is 16 hours on a weekend. And right now I can't do anything of an evening, which is what I was doing. A little bit here and there of an evening because I was getting home at 4 o'clock. Now, I'm not getting home until Friday night at 8 o'clock. So.
Yeah. Well, Heath has a question here, and I'm not sure exactly what he's asking. He says, so what's the difference between 16.5 gauge standard and 16.5 gauge narrow for the rail? Or is it just in the ties? So I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, Heath.
Yeah.
If you're asking about the code of the rail, or are you asking about the
Distance
actual gauge
between the rails.
between the rail heads?
Yeah, I think he was asking originally the difference between HO standard gauge and HO narrow gauge. Was
Okay.
it
4 foot versus 3 foot.
Yeah, the rails are closer together with narrow gauge.
Yeah. So you're in real life, your standard gauge is 4 feet 8.5 inches between the rail heads. 3 foot narrow gauge is 36 inches between rail heads, and then of course you've got 30-inch gauge in real life and 2 foot gauge in real life. Then you get down to 18 gauge and all the oddball stuff below that.
Hey.
But if you were asking millimeters or something like that in model gauge, I don't know, because I've never measured it. So I can't answer that.
Here's
looky
something
here, what you got.
Here's something you won't normally see on a narrow gauge model railroad. This is a Revell 187 plastic model kit that I've been working on in my spare time. I'm ready to start weathering it now, but that's all. That's my first real model with an airbrush.
Now this is just plastic.
Yep, just a plastic kit, no motor, no nothing. Okay. It just barely fits on the rails.
Well, it looks really good.
Yeah, it looks at home there.
Yeah, it does. I could see it. I could see it running on the dual gauge past a narrow gauge yard.
Something tells me it would never make an 18-inch radius curve, though.
No, but I think it'd be a good display someplace. Put a chain link fence around it and put it by.
Yeah, well, my plan is eventually to have, some kind of display where I might get some other HO stuff that will never run on the layout but makes a good display.
Okay, here's what Heath was
display units.
Here's what Heath was asking. He was asking about the printouts on the standard gauge versus the narrow, but needed the printout narrow. He was asking what the difference was.
Oh.
So I don't know what the difference would be in a print, but he's talking about the model gauge, the difference between the full gauge HO and the narrow gauge. I've never measured it, so I don't know. I can't answer that. Might have to do that and give you an answer next week.
Well, I thought about, there's no way to reduce it and make it correct because your distance between your rails are still going to be incorrect.
Yeah.
So.
And if you correct those, if you do it to where those are correct, then your frog and everything else is going to be incorrect.
Right. Because I thought about that and I thought, no, there's no way that'll work. So my plan right now is I'm going to lay flex track at the radius I want. Then I'm going to tape some paper to where the paper's hinged, lay the paper over the top of that flex track, and then take a pencil rub.
Yeah.
Then fold the paper back over and then relay the flex track, keeping where the switch points would be exactly where they need to be, and then re-gauge the flex track over the diverging route, lay the piece of paper back over, take another pencil rub, and then I should have where the frog will be, and then I'm thinking then I can lay my track directly over top of those pencil rubbings, know where my frog needs to be, and build on top of that as my template. That's my plan. I had enough success just trying it to put over top of the HO template that I think if I actually had, the actual gauge of the rails, the rail heads as a template, the only trick then is going to be figuring out where does my ties go. So I think I can get that done. That's my next attempt when I actually go and attempt to do it.
Yes, Allie, you're correct. For the same number of turnout, same number of frog number, your turnout would be shorter in HON3 than the standard gauge, and that's just because it's narrower rail.
Right.
Would be the only reason for that. Who was it? Pat Valley said it was 10.5 for HON3 on the millimeters, and HON30 is the same as N scale track for the rail distance. So what do we got? We got about 6 minutes left. Oh, anybody got any other questions that you might have for Joe or Bill or Dennis or me or Steve or the dogs? We're both got dog duty, it looks like.
Yeah, I'm surprised my dog actually stayed quiet for the whole show. He's upstairs, hadn't barked at all yet.
Well, mine have been quiet, but that's only because my son's dog is here and they're kind of hiding away from her. So
You
She's a big dog.
Anytime I get to talking on a video, he thinks I'm talking to him, and he'll start raising Cain. But some reason he sounds asleep upstairs, so that's fine.
Oh, usually anytime I'm talking to anybody, especially this, if I'm talking to this dog, the little dog, my dog starts barking at me because she gets jealous.
Yeah.
I'm not paying attention to her.
Well, people that come to my house, neighbors or friends or anything else, they don't come to my house to see me. They all come to see him. That's the only reason, that they show up at the house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we took the dogs with us on our trip, and I can't believe how many comments we got from people. And, of course, people want to stop and pet the dogs and stuff. And my other dog's a toy Australian Shepherd, so she's about half the size of a mini, which is the real popular size. And they'd say, well, she's just a baby. And I said, no, she's 9 years old. And they couldn't believe she'd be that old. But so she got a lot of comments on the trip. But yeah, this one needed up in my lap for some reason. And of course, you can see she just crashes when she does that. And she's heavy too. Oh, anyway, do we have any other questions? Oh. There you go, Steve. Yeah, you got a 50-pound slobber mess. And he's got a bigger one in the house. Trust me.
Oh yeah, no, Blue's the slobber mess. This one, he's about 40 pounds.
I've got a shirt that'll prove that Blue's the slobber mess.
You gotta love him. Yeah.
Oh, he's full of energy though, boy. I tell you what, he's a great dog.
He's a big clown.
Let's see what else we got. Have a good weekend, Heath.
Yeah, my Beagle's 11 years old and still thinks he's a puppy and a lap dog.
Oh, yeah. Well, you see this. She's 9, too. But anyway, we had a good group in today.
Yeah.
Good to see everybody. And like I said, next week, we're going to have Mark Pruitt with the CB&Q in Wyoming. If you haven't seen his channel, I'll have the link on it next week. We got Joe Rader's channel link in the description. So make sure you go check out Joe's stuff, and like I say, we'll have Mark on the channel next week, and he's doing some really good stuff up in Wyoming. And I'm still kicking myself for not making a detour on the trip and going by and seeing him. But anyway, we'll talk to him next week. And Joe, I'm glad you agreed to come on. We're gonna get some more of you guys to come on, and we'll talk about you.
I
public.
For the invite. Been very good. Enjoyed it.
Well, I've seen some of you guys. I've seen your names all the time. I see your channels and stuff, but it's always nice to get to talk to somebody that you meet, and so I'm glad you came on, and we're willing to do it.
Yeah, and if anybody else wants to come on, just shoot us an email or message us here. Come on.
Yeah, just let us know. Allie, I'm going to try and do a beans next week. Steve's been busy, I think. A little bit.
Well, Mama's retired now, so it's a little hard to get 5 hours in the morning out here.
But we'll see what we can do. We have to find a time to get Bill on a beans. That'd be a thing to do, is get Bill to do a beans with us.
Oh yeah.
Have to be on a day when I'm not working, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. That's always the thing. Dennis is off on Mondays, I think.
I am off on Mondays now. Yeah.
Of course, we'll have to get Bill to call him
this
sick or
Monday.
something. We'll get him on. Yeah, because beans are a lot of fun.
One quick answer. Daryl wants to know, do I have live steam? Yep, that would be yes. That would be go check out my channel. You'll find out.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, we're going to wrap this up, guys. Thank you for being here, everybody in chat. And as always, Steve and Bill and Dennis and Joe and Jerry will probably be back next week. He was busy around the house today, so he couldn't join us. But
and anybody
sure
that's talking in chat that doesn't chat, good to see you here.
Yeah, because I don't think everybody that's in chat has been talking on chat, but
My wife is a creeper who won't type anything in chat until I've made a mistake.
yeah,
Well,
we
I
found that
found out.
out.
I've got a couple.
That's funny.
I've got a couple family members that are stalkers too. I just found this out recently.
Yep.
Oh, I wish I'd have filmed Brenda's reaction to watching that part of the video, Dennis. She reacted just like I thought she would. Anyway, everybody have a good week, and we'll
Yep.
see you next week.
Yep.
Hey,
Y'all
cool.
have a good weekend.